Welcome to FRC Media News for Thursday, April 11th, 2019. I'm Keith Tebow. On tonight's show, the city is asking all residents to take part in the annual census. We have an update on the Middle Street, South Main Street intersection construction project that's causing traffic delays in the city's south end. And with news of measles outbreaks in parts of the country and around the world, we get the opinion of a local doctor about the importance of vaccinating children. We'll have these and more stories coming up, but first let's check in with the news headlines of the week. We bring in the editor-in-chief at the Fall River Herald News, Lynn Sullivan. Lynn, welcome back. How are you?
Hello, good.
A lot going on in terms of budget. It's budget season in our local communities. A lot of local towns are having their town meetings to decide budget items for the fiscal year, which will begin on July 1. The city of Fall River is also moving forward. Actually, tonight, as we record this on a Thursday, Mayor Correa is going to be holding a joint meeting with the City Council and the school committee to discuss the administration's plans, at least as they have it for now, for fiscal year 2020. And one thing, Lynn, that I didn't know about until reading the article in the paper is this is actually something that's mandated in the new city charter, correct?
Yeah, it's a new thing from the new charter, so this would be the first meeting like this that they're going to have. And I guess it was sort of modeled on a meeting that then Mayor Flanagan had in 2014. That was a time when there was much, well, maybe, I don't know if there was more, but there was a lot of contention about the budget and the school side and the city side. And so Flanagan himself had come up with the idea to have the city council and the school committee meet together to sort of go over it. So that's why I guess they put this into the charter. Tonight will be kind of an interesting meeting. I guess it's the mayor is sort of taking it more of like an informational approach. So he had asked for questions to be submitted beforehand, but then the city councilors kind of think that what's the point of that? They really do want to ask questions about things that come up during the meeting. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes tonight. Right, and then as you mentioned, there's no back and forth tonight. The mayor was explicit in his letter to both bodies, the school committee and the city council, that in fact, if they had questions they needed answers to submit them in advance. I believe Tuesday at 5 p.m. was the deadline. So tonight it's pretty much going to be a presentation by the mayor and his financial team to talk about what the current budget, how the current budget is being laid out for the rest of the fiscal year, and some broad outlines, no specifics in terms of what the fiscal 2020 budget will look like. And it's going to be interesting going forward. There's been a lot of contention between the city council and the mayor, and the mayor is supposed to have his fiscal 2020 budget before the city council by May 15th, and then it'll be interesting to see how the city council looks at the budget, whether they'll cut some things, whether it's politically motivated or not, or approves a lot of what the mayor has to offer. So I'm sure there'll be some tension in the room tonight, but it's part of the process, and we'll see what happens going forward. Yep. In a related move, speaking of the school committee this week passed its operating budget, its recommended budget to send to the city council of over $106 million. But one thing that was interesting, Lynn, was the fact that school transportation costs for the upcoming year looks like it could be higher than what it has been in years past. Yeah, and it's tough, you know, whenever budgets go up, you know, tensions are high. People are, what's going on with this? What, you know, and you want to make sure that everything is handled in a way that everybody understands. So I understand, you know, you see a number like $11.9 million and you're like, what the heck? But, you know, you have to trust that the people that are putting together these budgets know what they're doing, and then the school committee will vet all of these. You know, that's what we elect them for. Right. So I don't know. It is tough. Yeah, so the full operating budget of the school department, as proposed by the school committee, is $106.6 million. That looks to be above last year's budget number, and it looks like that at this point
the school district is looking to have the funding at 101% of net school spending. We've been talking about this for many years, Lynn. Net school spending, the minimum amount of money that a community should be spending. It's some state formula that is developed by the Department of Education in terms of how much money the city should be spending. But there's still a lot of questions concerning how much money the city will be receiving from the state in the Chapter 70 money, if you will. And that may, fluctuate in terms of what the final school department number turns out to be. And that's always, I guess, a crapshoot for our communities in terms of school funding. They really don't know what they're officially going to get from the state, as the legislature is still debating its budget.
Yeah. I mean, that $106 million figure, that's based on the governor's budget numbers. Mm-hmm. But, you sort of think about this in the way that you run your household when you expect costs are going to be one number, and you're like, well, why don't we just budget a little bit more just to be safe? And I think that's what Kevin Aguiar was saying. So I don't know. It is a difficult situation for schools and cities. School Committeeman
Aguiar is mentioning that more than likely the city will be receiving more potentially in this Chapter 70 state funding, and that the city school committee should have put together a higher number, close to $108 million for its budget. But he was overruled by that, and the $106 million figure for now is being put forward to the city council. Something interesting this week as well, Lynn, it's sort of budget related. Mayor Correa, a couple of months ago prior to the recall election, terminated the city's contract with Waste Zero, ending the pay-as-you-throw program. But when that was done, the city had a lot of extra purple bags, and it's actually costing the city some $70,000 to return that money to Waste Zero for bags that probably won't be used.
Yeah, but it's also interesting. So they had to pay $95,000 to buy some more carts for the people who had opted out of city trash when pay-as-you-throw was implemented, and they got private haulers. But now that pay-as-you-throw is gone, they're coming back on the rolls, so they need carts. So you're right. That is going to be an issue with the budget discussion. Now, hopefully, it will be addressed tonight. So the pay-as-you-throw program brought in $2 million in revenue, and I know that was the sticking point with the city councilors, mm-hmm. because the mayor had gone to them, trying to get rid of the program, and they said no because we need the revenue. So the mayor himself has said that don't worry, we'll make that up. So it will be interesting tonight to hear how he plans to do that. So.
Yeah, according to the article this week by Joe Good concerning the $70,000 that the bag vendors are owed for bags, mentions that there were about 200 customers that had left the city trash pickup when pay-as-you-throw was instituted, figuring that they could get a better deal by going with a private trash hauler. Those people are now coming back online, and you mentioned that's the need to spend some $95,000 in the recycling and yard waste bins that are offered to city residents for the city pickup. So we're seeing more and more of those people come back online. So again, that's just a follow-up in terms of the elimination of pay-as-you-throw. A couple of final other issues, Lynn. Last night I happened to drive on 195 West, and I have to go on 195 West to get home. And I was fortunate enough to hear before I left work yesterday that there was a huge pothole that opened up on 195 between Swansea and Seekonk that caused some damage to, I believe, over 20 vehicles. Is that correct, from what you've heard?
Oh, I know. Can you imagine how bad that would have been? Whenever anything happens on 195, you just feel like everything comes to a standstill. So I do feel so bad for those owners of those vehicles. I do know this morning I went to go put my son on his van. He goes to school in Rhode Island, and a little piece, like a little rock, had thrown up from around that area where that pothole was, and it shattered the windshield. So. Oh my goodness. I know.
Well, it's funny. Every time I go home, because I have to drive that way, even through Providence, I usually check a map to see how long it's going to take. But as you know, I believe it's just in Somerset. There's the sign that says how many miles to the Rhode Island line and how long it's going to take. Well, yesterday it always says 9 miles, and a lot of times it'll say, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes to get to the line. Yesterday when I drove home, it said 69 minutes that it would have taken me to get to the state line in Rhode Island. So obviously I got off in Swansea and took Route 6 and got home that way. So that was so interesting side note. When you see a number that high, 69 minutes to go 9 miles, you realize something is amiss. Finally, one other story is a follow-up. We didn't have a chance to talk about it, but Manac Steiner closed a couple of weeks ago as the current owners were looking to sell the business and didn't find a buyer right away and was forced to close. Well, we find out that City Council President Cliff Ponte and his father have apparently bought the business and are going to be reopening it soon. Do we have any other details about this, Lynn?
No, it sounds like they're going to try to reopen it for the summer, which is great because, Manac Steiner is one of those symbols of Fall River, for people that are outside the city. So when they announced that they were closing, I think a lot of people were, pretty sad about it. I think that it's great that it's, a city councilor who's seen the need to bring it back and his family, and I'm excited to see what they do with it. You want to say that they'll, stay true to the sort of tradition of Manac, so that's also nice to see. So I'm glad. I'm really glad. You hate to see a business stay closed for a long time. You know, that's kind of a depressing thing to go by. Right. So maybe we can convince them to buy the Swansea Mall.
No, well, one step at a time, I'm sure, with Councilor Ponte. All right, Lynn, what else? What's coming up over the next few days?
Well, right now we're working on a story. It looks like the workers at Stop and Shop are on strike, and a few of the stores have had to close. Yeah. I know that's more of like a national story, but this is the local effect for it. And then we have a really nice story about Miss Quickashan. She's got a fundraiser coming up this weekend that's going to benefit Boston Children's Hospital. And then we have a little bit more, but we know that the Food Truck Festival is coming back, and Peter Jasinski, our business and economic development reporter, has looked at, what could Fall River do to be more welcoming to food trucks. So.
Well, Lynn, I want to thank you personally. This will be one of your last appearances with us. You're taking some time off over the next few weeks, and we're going to have an able fill-in starting next week. Phil Devitt, the new digital news editor at the Herald News, will be joining us in this spot beginning next week. And I know you'll be joining us from time to time as well, but I appreciate your help in filling in, joining us week in and week out over the past few weeks or so. So I appreciate your help, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Lynn, we'll talk again soon.
All right.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest top jobs list from the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center. Customer Service Representative. St. Anne's Hospital, located at 795 Middle Street, is in need of a full-time customer service representative, responsible for providing customer service to clients, employees, and visitors to St. Anne's Hospital Information Desk. Job number 119-40021. Clinician, Justice Resource Institute, located at 99 South Main Street, is looking for a full-time clinician responsible for the clinical care of youth while in the after-school program, as well as coordination and support related to clinical care and needs outside the site. Job number 119-39826. Shift Manager, Starbucks, located at 800 William S. Canning Boulevard, is looking for a full-time shift manager to manage the management training program to develop future store managers to run the coffee store. Job number 119-38347. South Coast Health, located at 363 Highland Avenue, is looking to fulfill the following full and part-time positions. Paramedic Technician, job number 119-33402. Quality Data Analyst, job number 119-33410. Tipsy Toboggan, located at 75 Ferry Street, is also looking to fulfill the following full and part-time positions. Dishwasher, job number 119-31693. Prep Cook, job number 119-31696. For more information on these or other positions, visit masshirejobquest.detma.org or call the Mass Higher Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Fall River residents are urged to fill out and then submit the city's annual census forms that were mailed to their homes this month by the Board of Elections. One slight change on the form this year has kept the board's personnel busy on the phones. Here's why.
People are asking on the under the political party, we now have active or inactive. That's all that means, is you're an active voter or inactive voter. If there's no changes to your political party, just send it back to us and signed. It has everybody's name, address, date of birth, everybody in the household, and if they're a veteran, if they have any dogs, anything of those particulars, we would like to have all the information filled out and sent back to us. If they don't fill out the census, we will send every voter a confirmation card. Basically, it's a little card saying, do you live in Fall River? Are you still living at your same address, or did you move? Just to let us know. What we do is we update everybody that returns those cards. We update them, and then come September, when we have our preliminary election, it will be September 17th. What we'll do is people will come to vote, and if they have an I next to their name, it means they didn't fill out a census or the confirmation card, so they need to show an ID and fill out an affirmation to say that they still live in Fall River. This is all we get federal funding and state funding, all based on how many people live in Fall River. So it's a benefit to us as a city to count everybody.
The forms can either be returned by mail to the elections office at one government center or in a drop-off box located in the lobby of Government Center. Forms can also be dropped off at a number of supermarkets and shops across the city's 2 Stop and Shop locations: Shaw's Supermarket in the North End, Shav's Market on Columbia Street, or Ciabra Supermarket on Stafford Road. City crews continue their work to repair underground drainage problems near the intersection of South Main and Middle Streets in the city's South End. Here's an update on that project.
So currently we have the intersection Broadway and Middle Street closed for some drainage work in relation to the Middle Street drainage project. It's closed off at Bradford Avenue. If you're heading on Broadway southbound, you would have to stop at Bradford Avenue and take a left or a right on Bradford Avenue, go down to Bay Street or South Main Street, and continue south on both of those streets that run parallel to Broadway. If you're heading north on Broadway, the last street that you're able to turn onto is Oliver. Take a right onto Oliver, up to South Main, then continue north on South Main Street. We're trying to divert as many people away earlier than that with traffic signs. One at the Globe intersection, they're able to stay right on South Main Street to head north, or go down to Bay Street at the Globe Street intersection. Also, we have other signs down at before Columbia Street to try to get people off of Broadway at Columbia Street area.
Now, this is drainage work. This is not curbside appeal.
Correct. So this is drainage work. So this is replacing all of the drainage within this area. Used to be combined with the sewer, so the catch basins from the roadway went right into the sewer. This is running a separate drain line all the way from Whipple Street on Middle Street all the way down to Bay Street. That's going to go right out to the bay. So this is taking all water that used to fall onto the roadway, go into the sewer system, have to be treated at the wastewater treatment plant. Now that's taking all that water and bringing it right out to the bay, and it doesn't need to be treated. We've been working on this since the beginning of last year's construction season. Stretches from Bay Street and will go all the way up to Whipple Street on Middle. So through the winter we did a extent from Middle Street heading south on South Main Street to Osborne Street. Currently we're back in the Broadway intersection. From there we'll be moving onto Middle Street again from Forest up to Whipple. This project also does include repaving the whole entire street, curb to curb, redoing the sidewalks and the handicap ramps within that area, and there's some infrastructure, some green infrastructure in the Park and Park Drive area that we'll be installing.
A local physician and children's book author, Dr. Kevin Gendro, was at the Fall River Public Library recently, reading a children's book he had written about the importance of getting vaccinated against communicable diseases. Here's the reason Dr. Gendro is adamant about this issue.
It's particularly important this day and age because of all the recent outbreaks of measles and mumps. Essentially what this story does is it allows both parents and children to read the book and understand why we vaccinate in general and how important each vaccination is. It also makes sort of light of a situation that can be painful for children. There was a very large study in the Lancet that was deemed fraudulent. Actually, the gentleman went to jail who put the study out that showed a link between the MMR vaccine and autism. That study was proven false. It was proven fraudulent. Basically, what he did was falsified data. So there is absolutely no link between MMR vaccines or any vaccine and autism. They've done subsequent studies, actually many subsequent studies, to prove no link between any form of vaccination and the disease of autism. Actually, the jury's still out as to what causes autism. There's been some measles outbreaks, some mumps outbreaks worldwide. What scares me is the potential for diseases like polio, diphtheria, and tetanus to come back, because measles and mumps typically are, rashes, fevers, self-limited disease, whereas something like polio can be debilitating, and I don't want to see my pediatric patients end up in a wheelchair for the rest of their lives.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Today we have Harry. Harry is a 3-year-old dwarf bunny. He is extremely friendly. He is definitely one of the nicest dwarf bunnies I've ever seen. He loves to snuggle, hide in your sweatshirt. I carry him around work all day. He loves it. He's my lunch break friend. Bunnies require hay every day, all day. They enjoy having fresh veggies. If you're interested in coming down and checking out Mr. Harry, come on down to 300 Linwood Street in Fall River, Mass. At Forever Paws. Come snuggle with this cute little minion.
Today we have Elliot here. Mr. Elliot he's a nice 5-year-old little boy. He can be a little bit shy at first. You can tell he's not particularly shy right now. Once you kind of get past that initial barrier of shyness, he warms right up, and he likes a good petting. As far as the kind of home that he would do best in, he'd probably be best in a quieter home where he can have a little bit of privacy, given that shyness. Probably not that quiet though, to kind of help promote breaking down that barrier, so he didn't get attached to any one person too much. He should do okay with other cats. So if you'd like to come down and meet Mr. Elliot here, you can come down to 300 Linwood Street in Fall River, Massachusetts, at Forever Paws Animal Shelter.
Because of a mild winter, ticks and fleas are expected to be a problem throughout southeastern Massachusetts this year. Speaking at an event at Bristol Community College, a state epidemiologist explained the best way to avoid these insects is to take certain steps in your own backyard.
It's really taking away their habitat. So it's all about habitat. Last year, so a lot of cycles drive mice. If you think about last year, we had a large acorn mass. So all of those acorns, they feed not only the squirrels and chipmunks, but they're also feeding the mice. The more acorns we have, the more mice you're going to have. So in lean years, you have a lot of die-offs. In heavy years, you build the population up explosively. That's what we're going to have here. It's all about your yard. So creating the least friendly environment for mice as you possibly can. If you have stone walls, most of us are not going to move the wall, but keeping the children away from the wall, because that's where the ticks are most likely to be, that's where the mice are. But if you have wood piles or piles of brush or anything that can support mice, making sure that there isn't food. I feed birds, but I'm aware of it. If you don't think mice at night are under that bird feeder or at the bird feeder, they are. So you're supporting not only the birds and the huge squirrels, but you're supporting the mice. So you have to think about what you're adding into the environment and how you can change your environment without changing your lifestyle.
That'll do it for this edition of FRC Media News. You can watch FRC Media News on Thursdays and Fridays at 6 p.m., but join us online at our news site, frcmedianews.org. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday.